I wanted to take a moment to talk about a bike I've had for a little bit over 2 years. And there's many different companies and manufacturers that make all different sorts of makes and models of their electric e-bike. Everything from road bikes to urban bikes, city commuters, to cargo bikes, to fat tire bikes, mountain bikes. The e-bike market is really larger than it was 10, 15 plus years ago. And the reason I want to talk about this simple bike here, and I call it simple for a reason, and I'll share with you why, it's because this bike has outdone many of the more expensive bikes that I've owned. You see, I previously owned many e-bikes before that cost in the range of $3,000 to about $5,000 by some very reputable and well-known companies. But these bikes have failed me, and I don't know if it was because they're the first generations or not, but I have learned something over my many years in trial and error of dealing with these e-bikes, is that if you're dealing with a first-gen bike, you're going to have a lot of hiccups. And back then, the companies didn't have parts readily and available for a customer to purchase right offline to take care of the problem. But today, there are companies that are making e-bikes. They have the parts that are readily and available, and you can simply swap them out. I want to talk about this bike, and this bike is made by a company called Himiway, and it's the Himiway Cruiser. Now, this is the Himiway Cruiser, and what I've done yesterday was actually took everything apart: battery, tires, fender, seats, pouches, took everything off and stripped it down. And I needed to give it a good washing. And because it was very dirty and muddy, because I ride my bike all throughout the year, 365 days if I can. I live in California, NorCal to be exactly, Sacramento, the capital of California. And this Himiway bike, I want to share with you some of the things that I've done since I've had the bike. Now, this bike, I've changed out the tubes multiple times. This is the second set of tires that are on the bike. I've also, at every 1,000 miles, taken out my hub motor and checked the planetary gears, degreased it and re-greased it, and lubricated the gears so that everything is functioning properly. At about 2,000 miles, when I opened the motor up again, I noticed that my planetary gear teeth had worn down. So for about $16 on Amazon, you can replace the planetary gears. Works flawlessly. I've also replaced the brake pads, as well as the brake cable for front and rear. I've replaced the pedals and many other components that may have become dented or broken, simply because I'm really rough with this bike. I go off-road a lot. I do a lot of bike camping. Right now, the bike is very bare because the panty airbags, and normally I pull a trailer with this bike, hence the reason you see this adapter here. The battery is still strong. I keep it charged at 75% if I'm not going to ride the bike for more than a week. That's never happened. However, I do keep my battery indoors because I don't want the battery affected by the fluctuating low temperatures of the winter months. You can see I have an extension on the handlebars here and a tilt to give me more of an upright position. Have a small Himiway pouch here that attaches to the bike. I keep accessories there. I have the C9 Cloud seat just for comfortability. There are some things that have broken on this bike. Here is the attachment for the rear rack. And you can see that this is loose here. The screw broke off inside. So you got to be careful when you're screwing these things in and whatnot. But it's not going to affect the bike at all. I have some different grips here. And I also have the thumb throttle because I don't like the twist shifter, because I am a person who have some disabilities, and I have inflammation in my wrist. And when I'm twisting and having to hold it, it causes pain in my wrist. So the thumb throttle suits me fine. I do have an accessory bar here with a GoPro mount. And you can see here, I'm at 5,778.4 miles. 2 weeks ago, I went through the water in Sacramento at Discovery Park, roughly about 2 feet of water. My motor got soaked. My hub motor got soaked, and my controller. And the bike still ran, but it was very sporadic. And so that tells me that my controller was compromised. I ordered a new controller from Himiway. They sent it right away. Of course, I ordered some tubes also. You can't never have enough tubes. And they sent it right away. I opened up the hub motor. No water whatsoever went inside. And I looked at the hub motor and checked it out. And that thing is pretty darn sealed. So I was shocked that no water got inside of that hub motor, considering it was buried under water. And it was buried under for a while, because I had to walk roughly about 50 feet to get out of that water. While I was walking, I'm walking the bike at the same time. So the hub motor was submerged and the controller was submerged. But this is the bike here. And this bike, I'll tell you something right now. If any of you know anything about going from California to the state of Greenville, Mississippi, you're looking at slightly over 2,000 miles. Now, 2,000 times 2 is going to give you 4,000 miles. Now, I've literally ridden this bike to Mississippi and back, hypothetically, and some. In other words, folks, this bike can take you where you want to go and where you need to go. When I purchased this bike, it was at $1,600, and this bike today is $999. Okay, $999. This is an entry-level bike, and I'm telling you right now, it's done everything and more that I wanted it to do. I'm getting ready to start my preparedness classes, and I want to get people more involved, at least all of my students, involved in biking, whether it's a trike, whether it's a two-wheeler, a fat tire, a commuter. But electric bikes, in a sense, really takes the load off of things when you're a disabled individual. And I have about 75 or so people that's part of my classes, which I do 3 times a year, okay? And I want to introduce them to these bikes. And so I'm hoping that I can locate another bike, more of a cargo style bike, something that can carry a load, that can carry the weight capacity of 300 to 450 pounds, but have a cargo load. There's companies out there like Mundo and other companies that make cargo bikes that are really made to carry loads. But I don't see a lot of e-bike companies that are into cargo bikes. There's only specialized companies that do that. I would love to see Himiway and other companies start making cargo haulers, but strong with a long range. That would be wonderful. You do have some long range bikes out there by a company called Anioki and Iohura. They make some long range bikes, and their bikes are pretty nice, but those are first generations. And I'm not gonna trust my money to a first generational bike. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Himiway makes a solid bike, and I hope that they can increase the range on their bikes as well as make a cargo bike. The closest thing that comes to a cargo bike that Himiway makes is the Big Dog. And the Big Dog has a rear seat, not seat, but a rear tray here, but also have the extended version. And so it looks really solid and robust. Love to try that one out. But this is the bike, folks. If you're looking for a bike and you want to really have a bike that's not going to cost you a lot of money for maintenance, this is the bike to go with right here. This is the bike to go with right here. And I literally replaced my car because I literally ride out here in the countryside constantly. So until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next video.